You have been searching for a reason, haven't you? You've been pacing the floors of your mind, looking for a logic that simply does not exist in this lower dimension. But listen to the sound of my voice and let the weight of the world drop from your shoulders like a heavy, tattered cloak. Tonight, the search ends. Tonight, the questions die. Because tonight, the divine has a message for you that your ego might find terrifying, but your soul will find liberating. Stillness is enough. No answers are required. I know the pressure you feel. I can feel the static in your energy field, that buzzing, restless frequency that tells you if you just figure out why they lied, why they left, or why the path ahead is shrouded in mist, you will finally be safe. You feel it in your temples as a dull ache. You feel it in your chest as a tightness, a restriction of the breath that makes you feel like you are constantly underwater, gasping for a clarity that never comes. You've been looking at the clock at 3:33, and 5:55, demanding that the universe give you a sign, a roadmap, a blueprint for the next 10 years. But the universe is responding with a profound, holy silence. And that silence isn't a rejection. It is a protection. Think about the last 72 hours. Man, the sudden exhaustion that hit you out of nowhere, making your limbs feel like lead. The way the people around you, those who still operate on the matrix frequency, seem to be speaking a language you no longer understand. You see their lips moving. You hear the noise, but it feels like static. It feels hollow. You are experiencing a sensory detachment. This is the cold phase of your transition. It's that moment when the old world has stopped making sense, but the new world hasn't yet materialized. You are standing in the hallway between incarnations, and the urge to run back into the burning building of your past just because it's familiar is overwhelming. Stop. Breathe. Do you feel that slight tingling in your palms? That is your power returning to you from all the places you've scattered it. You've been bleeding your light out, trying to solve people who don't want to be solved and fix situations that were designed to break. You think that if you don't have an answer for your family, your critics, or your bank account, then you have failed. You think that being chosen means having all the keys. But I am here to tell you that the greatest key you will ever possess is the ability to sit in the dark and not tremble. The world demands answers. The matrix demands data. It wants to know your 5-year plan. It wants to know why you're single, why you quit that job, why you've gone quiet. It wants to pin you down like a butterfly under glass so it can categorize you and control you. But you are unclassifiable. You are a frequency that cannot be measured by their instruments. When you stop seeking the answer, you become the answer. When you stop asking when and start being now, the timeline shifts. You've been feeling a strange sense of mourning lately, haven't you? A grief for a version of yourself that you haven't even met yet. You're mourning the loss of your need to know. You've spent your whole life being the smart one, the one who figures it out, the one who saves the day, but the divine is stripping that identity away. You're being forced into a state of absolute, radical stillness. It feels like a void. It feels like a vacuum. It feels like you are falling into a bottomless pit. But what if I told you that you aren't falling? What if I told you that you are finally floating? The answers you are seeking are actually anchors. If I gave you the answer tonight, it would tie you to a specific outcome. And that outcome is too small for what God has planned for you. Your mind wants a map, but your spirit wants a compass. A map tells you where the roads are. A compass tells you where true north is. Tonight, your true north is silence. It is the absence of noise. It is the refusal to defend yourself against the lies being told about you. It is the decision to let the mystery be a mystery. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine the questions in your mind as physical objects, heavy stones, sharp shards of glass, tangled knots of rope. Now, see yourself dropping them into a deep, still lake. Watch them sink. See the ripples fade until the surface is like a dark mirror, reflecting nothing but the stars above. You don't need to know how the bills will be paid. You don't need to know if they're ever coming back. You don't need to know if you're going to be alone forever. All you need to know is that in this exact microsecond, you are breathing, you are alive, you are chosen, and that is more than enough. Why does the silence feel so heavy? Why does the lack of an answer feel like a death sentence to your ego? It's because you are being recalibrated. You are currently in the divine waiting room. But this isn't a passive waiting, it is an active stripping. The spiritual reason you don't have the answers right now is that your old identity is still trying to drive a vehicle. It no longer has the clearance to operate. You are vibrating at a frequency that is beginning to bypass the analytical mind entirely. If the universe gave you the why right now, you would try to use that information to build a bridge back to your comfort zone. And the divine is burning that bridge to save your soul. You feel that pressure behind your eyes. That third eye pulsation that feels like a headache but tastes like intuition. That is the friction of your higher self, overcomplicating the simple. You are being forced into stillness because your doing has become a distraction from your being. For years, you've used productivity, caretaking, and problem-solving as a shield. You thought if you were useful, you were safe. But the spiritual law governing this current season of your life is the law of non-resistance. Every time you reach out to grab an answer, the answer recedes. Every time you try to force a door open, the lock turns tighter. This isn't a punishment. This is a divine intervention to stop you from settling for a good life when a miraculous one is being prepared. The unseen realms are currently in a state of intense activity on your behalf, while you sit in what feels like a stagnant pool of silence. There is a literal war happening in the second heaven over your destiny. The reason you aren't getting the blueprint is that the blueprint is being redrawn in real time. You've outgrown your previous destiny. You've evolved past the original contract you signed when you entered this incarnation. You are what we call a free agent of light now, because you've endured the betrayals, because you've survived the narcissists, and because you've kept your heart soft in a world made of stone. You have earned a higher tier of manifestation. But this tier requires a level of trust that borders on the irrational. Think of a seed deep under the earth. It is dark. It is cold. It is silent. If that seed had a mind, it would be screaming for an answer. It would be asking, why am I buried? When will I see the sun? Is this the end? But the seed doesn't need an answer. It needs to stay still and let the pressure of the earth crack its shell. You are in the cracking phase. The answers you want are actually just the old shell trying to stay intact. The divine is saying, let it break. Let the uncertainty break you open. If you knew the end from the beginning, you wouldn't develop the spiritual muscles required to carry the weight of the glory that is coming. There is a specific demonic frequency that feeds on need-to-know energy. It's a parasitic vibration that hooks into your anxiety and whispers, if you don't figure this out by Tuesday, you're finished. Do you recognize that voice? It's high-pitched, frantic, and circular. That is not the voice of God. The voice of God is a low, steady thrum beneath the noise. It's the sound of the ocean at midnight. It doesn't use many words because words are for the mind. And God is speaking to your marrow. The reason for the silence is to starve those parasitic thoughts. When you stop reacting to the lack of information, the enemy loses their grip on your nervous system. They can only manipulate you through your fear of the unknown. When you become comfortable with the unknown, you become dangerous to the matrix. You are being initiated into the priesthood of Melchizedek, a realm where faith is not a hope, but a substance. You are learning to manifest from the void. In the beginning, there was nothing but darkness, and the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the deep. There were no answers. There was only presence. And from that presence, "Let there be light," was spoken. You are currently hovering over your own deep. You are in that gap between the no and the yes. This stillness is the womb of your next reality. If you try to birth it too early by forcing an answer, you risk a miscarriage of your purpose. The why doesn't matter because the who is being settled. The universe is asking, can you trust me when I'm silent? Can you love me when I'm not giving you gifts? Can you stand still when the world is screaming at you to run? This is the test of the elect. It's the final exam before the sudden shift. You've been asking for a sign, but you are the sign. Your ability to sit in this room, in this body, with all these unanswered questions, and still breathe, still hope, and still choose peace that is the miracle. The answers are beneath you now. You are rising to a level where you don't need to see the stairs to know that the staircase is there. You are walking by frequency, not by sight. So, stop looking at the calendar. Stop checking your phone for a message that hasn't come. Stop replaying the argument in your head to see where it went wrong. It went exactly how it was supposed to go to get you to this point of total surrender. The silence is the sound of your chains hitting the floor. The not knowing is the feeling of your wings unfolding. You don't need an answer tonight because the answer is already living inside you, waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear its heartbeat. Do you see how they are watching you right now? The narcissists, the energy vampires, the architects of the matrix, they are all leaning in, squinting their eyes, trying to figure out why you haven't broken yet. They expected you to be in a panic by now. They expected you to be calling them, crying, begging for an explanation, or at the very least, defending your name against the filth they've been spreading. But you haven't. You've gone silent. You've chosen the stillness. And let me tell you, your silence is terrifying to them. It is a frequency they cannot hack. The enemy thrives on your reaction. They feed on the why, that you scream into the void. When you demand an answer from a narcissist or an explanation from a system designed to crush you, you are handing them a straw and inviting them to drink from your life force. Every "how could you do this?" and every "what did I do to deserve this?" is a leak in your spiritual hull. But tonight, the leak has stopped. You have plugged the hole with your refusal to engage. You have realized that their reasons are just more traps. They don't have the answers you need because they don't even have the truth in their own souls. They are empty vessels. And they hate that you are filling yourself with a divine peace they can never touch. They are scared of your stillness because it signals that you have disconnected from their power grid. For years, they controlled you through your need for closure. They knew that if they left things unfinished, you would stay tethered to them, looping the tape over and over in your mind, trying to find the missing piece of the puzzle. But you've stopped looking for the piece. You've realized the puzzle itself was a lie. You are walking away from the table, leaving them holding a handful of cardboard shards. This is why the attacks might be intensifying the smear campaigns, the accidental run-ins, the hovering. It is a desperate attempt to get a ping off your radar. They need to know you're still hurting. They need to know you're still confused. But you aren't confused anymore. You are certain. Not certain of the outcome, but certain of your source. When you sit in silence and require no answers, you are essentially telling the Matrix, you have nothing I want, and you can take nothing I have. That is the ultimate rebellion. It makes you invisible to their tracking systems. They can only find you through your triggers. If you aren't triggered by the lack of information, you are off their map. You are in the ghost zone, a place of high vibrational protection where their arrows simply pass through you as if you were made of smoke. They are throwing stones at a shadow, and it is driving them into a frenzy of shadow boxing. Notice how the people who used to drain you are suddenly acting out in even more bizarre ways. They are losing their grip because your stillness is acting as a mirror, without your answers to hide behind. They are forced to look at their own reflection in the quiet you've created. Your silence is a spotlight that exposes their lack of substance. They are realizing that without your light to feed on, they are nothing but cold, dark machinery. They are scared because they see that you have finally understood the secret. Your power doesn't come from knowing what they are doing. Your power comes from them not knowing what you are doing. The universe has placed a do not disturb sign over your soul, while the enemy rages outside the gates, trying to provoke a response. The divine is whispering, stay in the sanctuary. Do not give them the satisfaction of a single word. Do not give the Matrix the data it needs to recalibrate its attack. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. Let them assume you've lost your mind. In reality, you've finally found it. You've found the mind of Christ, the mind of the Buddha, the mind of the infinite, a mind that doesn't need to argue because it knows the truth is a person, not a paragraph. You are winning this war by not showing up to the battlefield. They are standing there with their swords drawn, waiting for a fight that will never happen. You are miles away, sitting by a still stream, watching the sun rise on a new version of your life. Your lack of a response is the loudest roar you have ever let out. It is the sound of a chosen one who has finally realized that the lion does not turn around when the dog barks. You are the lion. The answers are the scraps. You don't eat scraps anymore. You feast on the manna of the secret place, and that manna is seasoned with the salt of silence. The architecture of the universe is built upon a foundation of silence. Before the stars were ignited, before the first word vibrated through the dark expanse, there was the great stillness, and you, as a fragment of that divine source, are being pulled back into that foundational frequency. You feel as though you are losing time, losing your grip, or losing your edge. But in the higher realms, you are actually gaining your sovereignty. The truth you are seeking isn't a collection of facts. It is a state of being. The prophecy for your life isn't written in a book you haven't read yet. It is being etched into your DNA in these moments of quiet surrender. The theological mystery of the chosen is that they are called to walk the path of the via negativa, the way of unknowing. Most people in the Matrix live by the via positiva. They need more money, more friends, more accolades, more answers. They build their towers of Babel out of certainty, trying to reach a God they think is outside of them. But you are being led into the cave of the heart. In that cave, there is no light but the light you carry. There are no echoes of the world's opinions, There is only the steady, rhythmic pulse of the I Am. The great architect of the universe is currently rearranging the physical molecules of your reality to match the new frequency you've attained through your suffering. This is why the old answers don't work anymore. If you were to receive an answer based on who you were 6 months ago, it would be a lie today. You are a different biological and spiritual entity than you were even yesterday. Every tear you shed in the silence acted as a solvent, washing away the calcification on your pineal gland. Every night you spent staring at the ceiling, refusing to bitter your heart against those who betrayed you, was a sacrifice on the altar of your own ascension. You are moving into a season of non-linear manifestation. In the old world, the linear world, $A dollar leads to $B dollar, and $B dollar leads to $C dollar. You do the work, you get the result. You ask the question, you get the answer. But in the realm of the chosen, the rules are different. You are entering a quantum state where the result appears before the work is finished, and the peace arrives before the problem is solved. This is what it means to have the faith of a mustard seed. The seed doesn't know how to become a tree. It simply contains the blueprint of the tree within its stillness. It doesn't struggle. It doesn't check the weather report. It just is. This is the divine law of correspondence. As within, so without. If your internal world is frantic, searching, and hungry for answers, the external world will reflect back chaos, confusion, and more questions. But if you can anchor yourself in the stillness that is enough, the external world has no choice but to settle into a state of harmony. The storms in your life are not there to drown you. They are there to see if you will try to control the waves or if you will sleep in the back of the boat like the master did. The master didn't need to know the wind speed or the depth of the water. The master knew that the water was beneath his feet, and the wind was his own breath. Your life is a living testament to a higher intelligence that does not require human permission to operate. You are being shielded from the how, so that when the breakthrough happens, there will be no doubt that it was a divine act. If you knew the how, you would try to take the credit. You would try to turn your testimony into a 1-0 step formula to sell to the masses. But the divine wants you to have a 0-step miracle. A miracle that happened while you were sitting still. A miracle that arrived while you were doing nothing but breathing and trusting. The silence is the signature of God. When you stop talking, God starts moving. When you stop asking, the universe starts providing. This is the paradox of the kingdom. To lead, you must serve. To find your life, you must lose it. And to have all the answers, you must be willing to have none at all. You are currently in the most powerful position a human being can occupy, the position of the witness. You are watching the old heavens and the old earth pass away. You are watching the narcissists fall into the pits they dug for you. You are watching the matrix glitch and fail, and you are doing it all from a place of unshakable, silent poise. You are the stillness in the center of the hurricane. The debris of your past is flying all around you, the memories, the regrets, the faces of those who failed you. Let them spin. They cannot touch the center. They cannot enter the vacuum of your peace. Tonight, the universe is crowning you not for your achievements, but for your endurance. You have endured the silence, and now the silence will become your greatest weapon. You are ready, not because you know what's coming, but because you know who is bringing it. Now, take a deep, grounding breath. Feel the air enter your lungs, not as a frantic necessity, but as a divine gift. As you exhale, imagine every lingering why, every jagged how, and every heavy. When leaving your body in a cloud of grey mist, watch it dissolve into the infinite light that surrounds you. You are clearing the altar of your heart. You are making room for the glory that does not require a description. The practical step for you tonight is radical non-action. If a thought arises that demands an answer, look at it, smile at it, and say, "Stillness is enough." Do not engage. Do not argue with the shadows. Your activation begins the moment you stop trying to activate yourself. It is a surrender that is more powerful than any ritual, any candle, or any mantra. By sitting in this silence, you are signing your name in the book of life as a sovereign being. You are telling the legions of heaven that you are ready for the direct transmission of the divine, bypassing the filters of the human ego. You are no longer a seeker. You are a landing strip for the miraculous. Let us seal this energy. Repeat these words in the sanctuary of your mind, or speak them aloud if you are alone, letting the vibration settle into your bones. I am the stillness in the center of the storm. I release the need to know the path, for I am the path. I release the need to understand the enemy, for they have no power over me. I release the hunger for answers, for the truth lives in my breath. Tonight, I have enough. My silence is my shield. My peace is my sword. The universe is working in the dark, and I am resting in the light. It is finished. It is settled. It is so. Do you feel that? That sudden coolness in the room? That slight expansion in your chest? That is the seal of the divine. You have shifted from the frequency of the striving human to the seated chosen one. You are seated in heavenly places, far above the reach of narcissists, far above the reach of the matrix's anxieties. The world may still be loud tomorrow, but you will carry this silence within you like a hidden treasure. You don't need to explain your peace to anyone. You don't need to justify your silence to those who thrive on noise. If they ask you what's wrong, you simply tell them, everything is finally right. They won't understand, and they aren't meant to. This mystery is yours and God's alone. It is the secret manna that sustains the black sheep, while the rest of the world starves on the husks of information. Go to sleep tonight, knowing that the angels are mapping out your tomorrow while you rest. You don't need to stay awake to supervise the Creator. You don't need to worry about the doors that are closed, because the walls themselves are about to dissolve. Your only job, your only divine mandate is to remain in the stillness, to trust the void, to love the silence. If this message resonated with your soul, if you felt the shift in your spirit, I invite you to claim this energy. Type "I am the stillness" in the comments to anchor this frequency into the physical realm. Subscribe to this sanctuary if you are ready to walk the path of the chosen, leaving the noise of the world behind. Share this with one other soul who is tired of searching for answers and just needs permission to breathe. Sleep now, chosen one. The answers are coming, but they are coming as experiences, not as words. And when they arrive, you will realize you never really needed them anyway. You only ever needed Him. You only ever needed the stillness.